Star Wars. We are a Star War. We are a Star War. Isn't that cool?
Hello there, and welcome to We Are a Star War. This is our very first episode. My name is Corey, and I am a Star War.
My name is Jim, and I am a Star War.
Well, my name is also Corey, and I am also a Star War.
And we
are a Star War.
This episode, we're talking about Kenobi. Little backstory here. We're just three buttholes talking about Star Wars.
Just three buttholes.
Our backstory starts in Florence, Alabama.
North Alabama. The mid-90s.
The mid-90s.
Picture
1995.
it. Sicily. 1995.
The internet was dial-up.
The internet was dial-up.
We
were on
literally
AOL.
had Yahoo and Google search as a dial-up prompt in our dorm rooms.
That's fucked up.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I met this motherfucker, Jim.
Oh,
at
we're going
SOAR.
to use French on this podcast?
Yes.
Girl, the force is strong with you.
This is what we're doing.
Titties.
I met this motherfucker at SOAR, which was like counseling, the intro before you started your freshman year at University of North Alabama. And then he knew this motherfucker, Corey. And then Corey, shortly after, moved to Florence. What was that, probably 96?
Yeah, it was our sophomore year.
This was like a renaissance in the time of Star Wars. We had re-releases of the original trilogy in theaters. They were re-releasing toys.
Back when
Right.
George Lucas was putting shit in them that shouldn't be there, but
Yes. The
we
special
were happy to see them
editions,
in the
quote
screen.
unquote. We saw them shits on the big screen. Then they made the announcements that they were going to make prequel trilogies. And we were going to get young Anakin and all of the shit that led up to what happened in episode 4.
Yeah.
The only movie that I've ever camped out to see, to get tickets, was episode 1.
Phantom.
The only movie I've ever given someone $20 to camp out for me.
You had to work, I think.
I think so.
You were there for some of it, probably.
Thank
I was there
Dom.
for the movie when we watched that.
So my favorite part about that screening, so waiting for the box office to open to buy the tickets was actually a lot of fun. But my favorite part about the screening of watching Phantom Menace was before it started, the theater was packed. It was a Thursday night, midnight screening. And someone made like a chain of straws going from the back of the stadium seating all the way down to the front so that the person in the back could drink the drink of the person sitting in the front row.
That is ingenuity.
Like, it kind of went downhill from there, but that was pretty cool.
I love it. We saw it at the Cinemark. Not Cinemark. It was a Carmike at that point. It is now nothing. It is not a theater. It is just an empty building.
Times they are changing.
And I live about a half a block from that building. That's where I stay now. I no longer live in Florence. We bought a fuck ton of toys of the Star Wars. We cursed at employees at Walmart
Yeah, there's...
who would not let us get certain toys
Because they were selling them on the side. That's why. We weren't
I
being
feel like there's
belligerent to employees.
There's like
we
an
were calling them on their
unrepresented
bullshit.
part of Star Wars culture, which is there was like 3 years where every time we went anywhere in the car for more than 15 minutes, we stopped somewhere that sold toys
to look for.
just in case they had just opened a
This-
box.
I mean, that's
of
what we
something.
grew up on were the toys.
This
Yeah.
one specifically was Walmart in Athens, Alabama.
Yeah.
She would not allow us to open the
Because
boxes.
she was selling the boxes
well,
to one
We would
of the
get there at
comic
2
book
in the
shops.
morning and see a pallet that just said Star Wars all over it and be like, when do you get to this one?
she was putting them out on the shelves. She just didn't want us to go through them yet. And we were like, when you get into those? And she's like, I don't know. I do remember, however.
She was saving that off-card Leia.
y'all put Boba Fett in an igloo cooler on a display at the Florence Walmart. This is before Florence Walmart was a super center. Y'all put that
Just a
Boba
wee
Fett in an
Walmart.
igloo cooler for me so that when I got off work, I could go get it.
Oh, shit.
And I'm still appreciative to this day.
It's like treasure.
It is like
It
treasure.
is.
So our story goes back a long way. We're all a Star Wars. We decided
We are Star Wars.
that we were going to start this podcast, and we're going to jump right into it. This week, we're going to recap Kenobi. We're going through all 6 episodes. buckle the fuck up. I'm going to do a quick recap on each one. We're going to give our thoughts. Then we're going to go to the next episode, give our thoughts. And at the end, we'll give an overall sort of summary of how we feel.
I am not prepared.
But we are welcoming tangents.
Yes. I mean, this is what we do.
It's going to happen.
We have a several year-long text message thread that is basically, I'd say 90% Star Wars.
I was literally just about to say we would normally just be texting each other this.
Yeah, so what we're doing right now is we are letting both of you in on what our texts are like.
Both of you that are listening.
Both of these.
Here's the thing. We're just three buttholes talking about Star Wars.
We are actually just three buttholes.
We don't know everything there is to know about the Star Wars universe. We mostly just watch the TV shows and movies. I've read a few of the comics. Jim's read a few of the comics. Corey
I don't read.
Refuses to do that shit.
I watch Star Wars. I do not read Star Wars.
It's mostly movies. We're just trying to have fun. You probably know more about it than we do, but we're going to document it, and we hope you'll take the ride.
And I have a puppy who's running around the house in the background. So if you hear a Tauntaun or a Rancor or a Sebulba, that's just my dog.
That's a puppy,
Avocado.
and she's a good puppy. Episode 1, let's get into it.
Get it.
Kenobi!
Riva. We see Riva and the younglings right out of the gate. It's Order 66. Then we find out it's 10 years later on Tatooine. Jawa told Kenobi he needs to wash his ass. Then we see Luke.
That happened.
Then we see Luke. Kenobi leaves the toy ship there. Uncle Owen ain't having it. Fake Leia. Real Leia. This is the whole bait and switch with her getting dressed. Then
With like
she's
a
out.
green child? Was it a green child?
No.
It was a GoPro child, wasn't it?
was
It was a
strange-
Greedo.
No.
Oh, was it a baby Greedo?
No, she had like gray skin. It was weird.
It was a Greedo.
Yeah. And then
She was Greedo.
she was. And then Uncle Owen is big time mad about the toy. He ain't trying to have it. He don't want any connection between Luke and Kenobi.
That's because Uncle Owen remembers everything.
That is correct. This motherfucker is serious. Riva is on to Owen. She knows what's happening. She's trying to figure this out in the town in front of everybody. She's trying to find Kenobi. Cousin Asshole at this event told Leia she's not a real Organa. Oh no, we can't catch this little girl in the woods. They finally catch up to her and take her hostage. In the most awkward chase scene that ever existed.
It's really the worst part of the whole series.
It's not good.
And I'm a huge fan.
That's correct.
It's terrible.
The Organas contact Kenobi. He ain't having it. He's just trying to live his life out in this fucking cave.
His name is Ben. Thank you very much.
I broke down Kenobi as everything, but you're right. He's Kenobi.
No, I mean, I was just saying.
Yeah.
I was just quoting. I wasn't.
Then we see the dead Jedi found
Ben is
in
short
town,
for Benjamin.
hanging in front of everyone in Tatooine. Bail Organa comes to Kenobi's cave and asks him for help. Then we see this motherfucker digging up lightsabers in the sand.
Oof.
Why do they always bury lightsabers in the sand?
The sands of Tatooine.
Apparently you can't find them otherwise.
But he knew exactly where they were somehow in all this fucking sand.
The Force.
Okay, Riva tells Flea that she knows that Kenobi will come to get Leia, and Kenobi boards the ship.
You know
to
who
leave.
doesn't like sand?
Anakin.
Anakin Skywalker.
Gets
God,
everywhere.
he hates it.
So at the end of the episode, Ben's made a choice. He's going to go try to help, even though he swore he wouldn't help. He was trying to block himself from all this shit.
Yep.
What are y'all's thoughts? Episode 1. It was a pretty long setup. We get the whole Riva shit happening, right? She's trying to find Kenobi. That's pretty obvious right out the gate. I was shocked. I didn't see the Leia thing happening. So
Well, yeah. First of all, we had
Yeah, for sure.
the thing that Disney does with their trailers now, where they like purposefully trick us, which I kind of think is funny. Like whenever they're like, "Oh, the Hulk is in Infinity War," and then he's not. Like it's, "Oh, you a liar." And from whatever all the trailers, we were like, "Oh, this is going to be about Luke," and then it was like, "No, it's not at all. Like he has a little part, but it was about Leia," which is very cool because he is a dirt farmer, so it's not as much fun.
Well, and we were also we knew his story because from A New Hope he hadn't done any goddamn thing other
Right.
than be a dirt farmer. You know,
Yeah,
we
and
never
why?
knew beforehand. You know, if you watch the Rebels cartoons, you know that Leia was getting into some trouble, but we didn't know what her story was. So even though it was surprising for me to see her in the first episode, it totally made sense and it was really cool. And that actress deserves all the accolades because she was amazing.
Yeah, she did a really good job. I thought, like,
She was my favorite
it.
part of the series.
Yeah, I rewatched this weekend because I have a memory for shit, and it had been a few months since I'd seen it. So she really held her own in a lot of scenes where a lot of kids probably couldn't do that.
Yeah, that scene, it's not in this episode, but where they're like gonna torture her and she's like standing up to it. It's tough. Yeah.
Yeah, that
We'll
was
get
serious.
to that.
We'll get to that.
We'll get there.
Yeah, episode 1. This is also where, like, I've watched this like 4 or 5 times, but I'm still not clear on how he doesn't know that Darth Vader is alive and Darth Vader is Anakin. Like, it's kind of like, I don't understand.
I feel
overall,
like
when
we got to go back and watch the end of like the last 5 minutes of Revenge of the Sith because I think that's where they all part and say goodbye.
He thinks he left him for dead.
Mm-hmm.
I get that. So does he know that there's a Darth Vader in the universe, but he doesn't know that he knows him?
I don't know.
Because in the first episode, when the Inquisitors walk into the like taco shop on Tatooine, they walk in and they're like, "You know who I am?" And they're like, "Yeah, you hunt Jedis." It's
they would have known.
So it's like,
Jedis
okay, so
were,
the whole galaxy knows who the Inquisitors are. Does the whole galaxy know who Darth Vader is?
Do they have Imperial Twitter?
Right. Like, yeah, like they don't have freaking newspapers and they never read radio.
Imperial
or
Truth. Too soon? What?
I mean, that's pretty accurate.
Mm-hmm.
We know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so, but I mean, they make it clear that that's kind of, that eventually becomes like the point of this series.
It is a huge ask of the audience. What you're talking about, the writers, I have to believe that they had that conversation that you're asking about.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to assume that the audience is going to assume a certain thing, and then we're going to redirect them, because I always assumed that Ben Kenobi knew who the fuck Darth Vader was.
Right.
And then this first episode, it was like it was so cool seeing Ewan McGregor again. And I totally get the fact that he's withdrawn and it's a slow burn and all that shit. But in that first episode, I was like, does he have any idea what the fuck is going on or not?
It's so not clear.
I don't think he does.
He's out chopping space tuna. He ain't got a fucking clue, man.
Which I have some questions about the space tuna, but
It has natural nitrates in it. It preserves well.
but at 5 o'clock every day, they were just like, boom, I'm out. And they turn around.
They should have a second shift.
They didn't close anything up. They just left the meat laying out.
Motherfuckers coming in. They got keep that shit rolling, baby.
I guess.
You can't.
I was worried about that.
It's hot in this
Let's-
motherfucker. It's cooking.
Let's not let it go bad. The desert whale.
Yeah. Do you know how far you can smell a dead desert whale if you let it get bad?
I mean, I think they had a
All the way to
Vegas.
Anchorhead. Is that a...
No.
No, shit.
I think it's
all the way
Moss
to
Butthole.
Moss.
Moss Butthole.
God damn it.
I think they had a system. But either way,
There were
must-
processes
he was out there
involved.
just trying to chill, and every once in a while go keep his eye on little Luke, right?
Mhm.
He would
Because
go
that was his job.
sit up in
Don't
the
start
rocks.
no shit, won't be no shit. Keep an eye on Luke. That was his job. That's what
Yeah.
Yoda said exactly like that.
I think
Yeah.
that's what he did.
He
Say.
said, don't start no shit, won't be no shit. I'm going to go hide out. Peace out. Go talk to Qui-Gon.
That's straight out of the
But you
text.
can't talk to Qui-Gon if you
It's
cut
from
off
the Jedi text.
all the
Sacred text.
all the Jedi shit, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So y'all got more thoughts on episode 1?
I got one thought that kind of bleeds into my feeling about the overall series, and that's the whole notion of a slow burn on this first episode. I think Obi-Wan would have made a better movie than a TV series. That's where I sit on it, and that's my opinion, and that's worth nothing more than just my opinion. This show really belabors the slow burn. This first episode just really takes its time, and I didn't like that. But that's my opinion. Obi-Wan getting bullied by the guy in the whale shop. on Tatooine. I'm like, okay, 3 times, 4 times. How many times are we going to see this? I get it. Like, we know that Obi-Wan's a badass, and we know that he's going to regain his badassedness. How many hours are we going to wait to get there? And that may just be my short attention span theater thinking, but I was hoping that we would see that a little bit more. And when we finally did get that from him, I felt like it was a little muddy because he had 2 climactic awakenings of his Force abilities that I thought was muddy, but we'll save that for later episodes. But my only complaint on this first episode was the slow burn was a little too slow for me. It was like a bad smelling incense that took too long to burn down. And
Jim,
I thought
the
Reva was
storyteller.
amazing.
I'm
Yeah.
not a storyteller. I just write down what happened. I'm gonna move to episode 2, and then we'll get into our overall thoughts at the end.
Love it.
And I'm gonna hope that I can read my handwriting because my handwriting is some bull shit.
We'll put some of that up on the web
I mean,
On the internet.
for you two to look at to see
We-
what he's talking
The
about.
we
internet.
can. Let's get into it. Episode 2, Kenobi is on Daiyu. He is tracking Leia's ship. We have a kid that takes Kenobi to see a quote-unquote Jedi. We find out his name is Haja, played by Kumail Nanjiani. Haja says that he can help. Flea and his guys find Kenobi/Ben. Kenobi escapes by fogging the room and then bouncing. He finds Leia in a locked room.
I have fogged a room or 2 in my time.
Woo, we've all fogged a room, baby. Leia does not trust Ben out of the gate. The Grand Inquisitor realizes that Reva had a senator's kid kidnapped. He's big mad. Leia is sassy as fuck. She and Ben have some nice exchanges running around the little city. Haja and the kid realize that there's a reward for Kenobi, so they go try to find him. Then she realizes that they took her to get to Ben. She bounces. She's running around like a little crazy kid in the city. Rooftop chase.
Like a Yorkshire Terrier off leash.
Yes. Parkour. It's the goddamn Force. He uses the Force to save her from smacking on the ground when she falls trying to jump from roof to roof. She believes that he's a Jedi now. Jim's trying to say
I mean, she kind of had to at that point.
right. But she didn't before. She just thought he was old and busted.
She did.
Right. Okay. So Haja finds
Kids.
them.
That's what kids are like, though.
Testing every goddamn
They
nerve
don't-
you got.
They don't have any respect. I work for a bunch. We don't have to get off on
No.
this tangent.
So Haja
Alright.
finds them and tells them how to escape to Mapuzo. He's trying to make amends for the shit that he's done in the past. Then Flea got killed by the Inquisitor. Haja distracts Reva. She reads his mind. Reva finds Ben and Leia. Leia takes off to the ship. Reva says that she's taking him to Lord Vader. Kenobi realizes what's up. That's when he realizes that Anakin is alive.
Yeah.
He didn't know it before. He just found out. He puts 2 and 2 together.
And his name is called Vader.
It was in the second episode that she killed the Grand Inquisitor, or not killed him,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which we all knew was...
No. He's still alive at this point, right? But,
Which is the one... So I guess it's the next episode
Yeah.
where she knifes him.
right. The Grand Inquisitor tells her to step aside. She stabs his ass right then. So it's immediately after that. I got ahead of myself. She stabs his ass.
So
That's
was
my
it
notes.
episode 2 or episode 3?
Episode 2. We're
Okay.
still in episode 2.
It just happened.
Ben flees to the ship.
it once.
Kenobi is distraught as a motherfucker on the ship. He's all like, "Oh, Anakin's alive.
I
Anakin's
bought
alive."
that. It made that was a great beat.
Yeah.
That was a nice
And
beat.
then we do a hard cut
It's
to
tough
Anakin
news.
in his back to tank, and then boom, that fucking music. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, the bong music.
Bong,
Bong.
music.
Bong.
I have bong music. written.
Bong pow music.
And then it's the fucking breathing, the hissing credits.
Microphone drop.
So it was the end of the second one where we see Vader in the back of the tank.
Yep. Correct.
Yes.
Reva done killed the Inquisitor.
She didn't kill no Inquisitor.
We thought
It's merely
she
a flesh
killed him.
wound.
Well,
But if anybody saw Rebels, you knew he wasn't dead. So it wasn't like Disney was pulling the wool over anybody's eyes. It was just like...
Also, nobody gets killed by getting stabbed by a saber anymore.
not in the stomach, except
Not-
for Qui-Gon
not till-
fucking
not
Jinn.
since Qui-Gon.
Qui-Gon's the only Jedi to ever die from a lightsaber to the gullet.
Ever since then, it's like, that cauterizes it as soon as it comes out, right?
There's
You're
no
fine.
bacteria
You're
getting in.
fine.
There's no bacterial infection.
You're actually healthier if you get stabbed by one of these sabers. Kind of cleans you out a little bit. It's great.
After all these chicken wings, I could use a lightsaber to the stomach.
We did eat a lot of chicken wings
Ooh.
before we recorded.
All right. So
Corey Martin,
Epi
what was
2.
your favorite part of episode 2?
Oh. It was seeing Vader again. It
Corey
was the
Hannah, what
freaking
was your
last
favorite
10
part?
seconds.
I think it was that last few seconds where Ben is like, oh shit,
Yeah.
I thought I killed
Because
him.
that's when you actually know what this show is going to be about. Because then it was like, because we don't know before the first episode, you don't know what the plot is. All you know is they've said they're going to duel again, and you're like, bullshit, they can't do that.
Right, that's how they sold the show to all of us. It's the rematch of the century.
Right.
And
And
we
we're like-
were all going, how the fuck are you going to do that
Yeah.
when A New Hope, but blah, blah, blah. But they stuck
And
the
then you
landing
watch
on
the
that
first
one.
episode, and you're like, okay, so this is about baby Leia. That's cool, I guess. Fine. And then you see this, you see him, and then you're like, well, they're not going to show that and then wait till the end to show
I really
Vader.
liked the rooftop choreography of that action sequence during the chase.
Parkour.
I thought that worked really well. And I thought even though some of the Leia running away from Kenobi was like somehow Leia running away from people just didn't work well in the
It's just so
choreography of
cutesy.
this show. Yeah, but it was a little Scooby-Doo. But
Herner droid.
the shootout on the roof was pretty cool. I thought that worked well and it looked good and it was fun Star Wars. And I was like, okay, this is making sense. They're layering the action. Reva's plot is working because she's like, I'm gonna get up real high and wait to see what happens. And lo and behold, wherever Kenobi goes, there's some fireworks.
Yeah.
I thought that was fun. And the revelation in the final beat was pretty cool, but I really enjoyed that sequence. I thought that was well played.
What about you, Star Wars?
Yeah, to me it was the realization because the first 2 episodes came out together on the first night.
I forgot about that.
So we watched the first 2 like they were one thing. So it ended with, hey, Vader's here. Like, so it was like, oh,
That was pretty smart.
it is on. Yeah. Because if they made you wait 2 weeks to find out Vader's definitely here, like it turns out kind of like Spider-Man. We got way more Spider-Man than we thought we would. We got way more Vader than we thought we would too. And I loved every freaking second of it. So I was happy to see it. Yeah.
Y'all got more thoughts, or do we need to get on to episode 3?
Nah, hit 3. Let's
All
do
right.
it.
I thought
Episode-
Reva was amazing.
Reva was fucking great, and everybody that hated Reva could fuck right off.
She
Episode
was
3.
mad for a reason,
Yep. She got
and it
motivation.
made sense.
Episode 3, Ben's trying to talk to Qui-Gon. This is a thing that happens several times throughout the series. Then my wife interjected, and while I was watching this, she says, Leia is a better character than Luke, and you should put that in your podcast.
Yeah, we already said that.
Yeah.
He's a dirt farmer. She's an ambassador. She's
a
a
fucking
way better
princess.
character.
All right. Then we see Vader coming out of the tank. We see Vader's castle on Mustafar. He's talking to a hologram Reva. Vader tells her to prove herself, and she'll be named the Grand Inquisitor. Ben and Leia talk. She asks him about the Force. They arrive on Mapuzo, and Ben thinks that he sees Anakin in the distance. That's a little fucked up. Then Reva tells the fifth brother that Ben is in the mining fields. She calls for the probes to be sent out. Leia tracks down Freck for a ride, while in the desert of Mapuzo, stormtroopers hitch a ride as well. Ben fucks up and calls her Leia, even though he had told them that her name was Luna. And then Leia realizes that
Or Lulo.
Yeah. You said Lulu. And then Leia realizes that Ben knew her mother and asks him if Ben is her dad. That's a pretty cute little scene, emotional scene there. And then there's a fucking probe droid at the checkpoint. There's a shootout with the troopers. More troopers show up. They get blasted by Tala from behind, and she leads them to safety. We find out that she's the person that is supposed to be meeting them at the checkpoint when we thought that they weren't going to be there at first. She leads them to the safe house, which is also the path in capital letters, which leads the Jedi to safe passage. We find out that Quinlan Voss had been there before. He was a character we knew from Star Wars Clone Wars, the cartoon. Troopers enter, search, find nothing. Ben starts to feel strange. Vader is walking through the town like a goddamn savage, choking motherfuckers out. Ben tells Tala to leave with Leia, Ben runs. Vader finds him. Vader says, "I am what you made me." This is all leading up to the fight in the fire. Reva finds the safe house, and then I have motherfucking lightsaber fight. So Ben and Vader are going at it at this point. Intercut it with Leia and Tala on the run in the tunnels. Leia runs into the tunnels. Tala goes back to help Ben. Vader is whooping that ass, lights a fire around Ben, drags him into the fire, and tries to torture his ass like he thinks was done to him. Tala shoots the trooper and creates the fire barrier so Kenobi can escape. Reva finds Leia in the tunnel at the very end. End credits. An action-packed episode. We see a little bit of a lightsaber duel. Not the ultimate duel that we were teased. But there is a lightsaber duel between Ben and Vader. Ben is clearly fairly weak. Doesn't have all of his Jedi power. He can't... I mean, he can't fight Vader at this point. He gets his ass whooped.
They did a great job, I think, of showing him like not being able to fight well. Like that's kind of hard to like. It's kind of difficult to choreograph not doing good. You know, like I think that's very interesting that it because
it had been 10 years.
Yeah, and it looks right. Like in this one, he's not so good. The next one, he does a couple things, and by the end, we'll get there. But yeah, like I thought it was really great. Like, oh yeah, he's just been like cutting meat in the desert for 10 years. He doesn't know what he's doing.
And not to go down a side tangent, but like the only other time we've seen a Jedi do that was Last Jedi with Luke, right?
Yeah.
And Luke in that movie was able to turn the force power sprinkler system back on quite quickly, and it clearly took Kenobi some time to get dialed back in, right? And
true.
And if you think about it as being something you have to practice, like yoga or any kind of martial art or any kind of anything, playing an instrument, if you haven't picked up a guitar in 10 years and you used to play, you're probably not going to be able to do it as well as you did 10 years ago.
Right.
And I thought they did a good job with that. But my favorite part of this episode, despite it being the first time that he and Vader lock lightsabers, was the fact that they did a really nice job of introducing the notion of the rebellion and the fact that it was disorganized, disparate, and very fragile. And we've seen that in so many different shows, whether it's Rebels or the latter parts of Clone Wars, but really Rebels. And then, of course, we're going to see a hell of a lot of it in Andor. But, and Solo, and which I thought they did a great job of it in Solo, but like they were very, very disorganized, decentralized. It was, people fed up with the Empire, people trying to do their own thing and then organized. And I thought that was a nice touch, the way they introduced that channel of the rebellion, which makes me wonder where Andor is going to fall within this. Right?
I mean, we'll find out very quickly.
I mean, the Empire had less than 2 decades on top.
Yeah.
From Revenge of the Sith to A New Hope, all the way through Jedi, really.
But one of my favorite moments in this was when she flags down that truck, and they're like, "Oh yeah, great!" And they walk around to the back, and you see the Empire logo. Mm-hmm. Like, to me, that was one of the
hand painted logo.
Yeah, where it's like it's basically like you're a hitchhiker, and then you notice the Trump bumper sticker on the back of the truck. You're like, "Crap, what did I do?" Like, it's the same thing.
I still got to make this work.
And I felt like it was such a good like world building. Like, from the movies, we don't get to see a whole lot of like what's a real person doing, interacting with the Empire day to day.
They clearly benefited from the Empire, though.
Yeah,
right.
And you think that Freck's a fairly good dude, and then he shows up to the checkpoint. He's like, "Hey, you might want to check these motherfuckers out."
Yeah,
like he kind of
because he has to live with these Empire people, not these 2 people that just showed up.
Correct.
Yeah, he's got to survive tomorrow with them. So it's like that's deep stuff that it's cool on these shows that they can take 15 minutes extra to go out and show little slices like that. Like that's what's cool about these. But I do agree, pacing wise, this would be a much better movie.
Would be a better movie.
But also, I thought that when Vader first shows up, like, I have a big thing where like you never get to see like Vader being Vader. You never get to see like you only see like the downfall or the rise. But
Right.
like this is just like, what's Vader like when Vader's just Vader being Vader?
He's choking out.
He
kids
walks
in
down the
town.
street and he pulls kids out of windows and breaks their necks in front of their family so that he can make Obi-Wan come out. Like
He don't care.
He went immediately evil, like so evil. Immediately. It's amazing. That was my favorite part.
You should read some of the comics every once in a while.
Yeah, my favorite thing from the comics was when Vader has crashed his ship and the rebels have surrounded him and they're all pointing their rifles at him and he's standing in the crater amongst the wreckage of his TIE fighter and somebody says something quippy or whatever and he's like, no, I'm just surrounded by a bunch of dead men. And then the next frame in the comic is all of the thermal grenades in their belts becoming detached and then they all die and he walks away.
Shit is cold blooded.
It is cold-blooded.
That's from the Vader Down series. It was only
Yeah.
like a six
That was
six issue
memorable. That
book.
was
You
a
can get it
great
in like
sequence.
trade paperback form. Do y'all have other thoughts on episode 3, or should I move into 4?
What's her name? Tala?
Tala.
She was a great addition.
Yeah.
I liked her a lot, and and that speaks more to my whole idea of, or my appreciation of the way in which they introduced the rebellion, and the fact that, you know, in this episode she clearly has motivation. She's clearly a double agent. She clearly has access. She's clearly taken. She's exposing herself, right, by helping Obi-Wan right there in that sequence. But I thought she was a great add. I like that character.
Yeah, and I like the throwback. Well, we'll get to that. More thoughts on for you, sir?
Nah, I'm good.
Okay, let's get into episode 4 because I got hella notes for episode 5.
Heck yes.
Episode 4.
It's getting better.
Ben wakes up. He's burned up like crazy. He's in the back of the tank. Cut to Vader in the tank, and then there's this end cutting of visions of them fighting, and they're both in their separate tanks. Then we see Leia and Reva. Reva tells Leia that Ben is dead and that nobody is coming to help her. Ben and Tala ask Roken for help getting Leia back. She's led them to this group of people just trying to like be safe, and he's decided he's gonna help. So Tala says that she has clearance getting into the base, and let's try that shit. Reva quizzes Leia about the safe houses. Tala gets through security. She opens up a port for Ben to swim inside. Somehow his robe and hair are dry, and I cannot figure that out.
The Force.
It's the Force.
The Force.
Reva can't use the Force on Leia somehow. She's trying to read her mind. It don't work.
Because Leia is Force sensitive.
Yeah, but she don't really know that yet. But
It's
she's
apparently
pretty fucking strong. with the
She's
Force.
also real fucking stubborn.
Right. So Tala gets questioned about her station and why she's there. The troopers take Leia away to the torture chair. Ben finds the Jedi tombs.
The torture chair was in a huge room.
Yeah.
The room for torturing people is gigantic, and there's one chair in the middle. And it's kind of like that in every Star Wars movie. They're like, I need like 50,000 square feet
So-
around me so I can torture the shit out of this
We
person.
can have a conversation about Palpatine being a little bit fabulous. Mm-hmm. So
Drama queen.
it makes sense that, you know, the Imperial machinations are a tad bit designed
Yeah.
for effect.
Well, I guess when someone comes to you and they're like, hey,
I'm looking at you, Snoke.
can you design me a spaceship? And they're like, yeah. And then they're like, can you make it the size of the moon? Like, you got a lot of space you got to play around with, I guess. You're like, well, I guess the hangar is going to be really big.
Sherman Williams wanted that contract.
Oof. So many square feet.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So much 50% gray.
So Ben finds the Jedi tombs. He hears Leia screaming. Tala calls Reva in and gives her false info about the location of the Jedi. The lights go out in the torture room. Blue Saber. It's fucking Ben to the rescue. Reva doubts Tala and her truths. And then Ben and Leia get chased by the troopers. He's starting to look a little more badass with his Force senses. Tunnel floods as they escape. That shit's fucking crazy.
Yeah, let's not gloss over that. That was fucking badass and brutal.
We-
And it's the first time that Kenobi has dropped that kind of fucking violence hammer on the enemy that we've seen in live action in a long, long time.
Yeah, because their asses are just floating behind that door.
There
for a
was
second.
there was a me or you sense to that conflict there, and he chose wisely.
You're right.
More on that from me in a minute.
All right. Leia hides inside Ben's jacket as they try to leave, which is a little funny looking. Reva catches them just as they're on the way out. Help is on the way. Sully to the rescue. Vader is big mad at Reva for them getting away. She says that she put a tracker on the getaway ship. Sully gets consoled by Tala about Wade's death because he got killed by Reva trying to leave. And then we see the tracker on Lola.
Is that the scene where she walks in and Vader immediately like picks her up force-wise and he's like, I'm gonna freaking, I told you what would happen. Is that scene? He's so mad. I love
didn't
that
write
part.
down the entire details, but
next time.
That's all that happened.
Yeah, when she's like, I put a tracker on, and he's like, I'm gonna kill you right now.
Right, that is that scene.
That's just more awesome Vader. That's all. Go on.
His shit is ruthless.
Yeah. He's Darth Vader, for Christ's sake.
He's temperamental.
So this is my issue here. They drowned a bunch of stormtroopers, and you see in the window their bodies. It's very cool. And then they get up into the hangar, and they're just like pew pew pew. They're just dropping stormtroopers left and right. There's piles of bodies that they have to jump over.
Let the bodies hit the floor.
So many bodies, right? And these are not clone troopers anymore. These are people.
This is like conscripts. This is like Saul and
Yeah.
Tabitha, Mildred. They're all from Charles Dickens novels.
They're peoples, yeah. And they just want a little more soup. But instead, they've been murdered. And then they manage to kill the one rebel guy in the thing. And then they all get back and they're like, oh, man, Gregory's dead.
Yeah, Wade. I only know that
Gregory Wade was on their team.
Yeah. And so then it's like, I'm supposed to feel bad for Wade. You just killed 50 slaves.
They're the bad guys.
I know, but it just seemed like they were. It seemed like they wanted me to think that. It seemed like they were piling up those bodies in that particular escape scene to like make a point about, look at all these dead people that we're not going to care about. We're just going to care about one good guy. I felt like they were making a point, but maybe they were just accidentally making a point. I don't know. Thoughts?
Don't join.
Don't join the Empire.
I mean, that was his point. Both sides are bad. Both sides are making money on it. And
are you getting in early on the?
No, I'm saying
Benicio del Toro 20 years from now will be the coolest Star Wars character that everyone loves the most.
Well, because
I
it's
think
Benicio
that might
del
be
Toro,
true.
I do think there's room there because
I think that might be
can pull
true.
it off. But
I think when
didn't
there's-
agree with his character, but that's what his character was calling bullshit on. Was
That's
like,
true.
y'all are killing each other on each side of the fence. I'm just trying to make money on this deal. Don't be a part of either side, and you can make it out. But I mean, that's not how you make a Star War.
That's true.
I'm just saying, Kenobi drowning that tank full of people was cruel and cold-blooded, but also necessary.
Yeah, I watched a couple of different Easter egg channels on YouTube. Like the day after these episodes released, I want to watch like the Easter eggs, and that tunnel scene was out of one of the video games. I forgot which one.
Yep.
Force Unleashed, maybe.
Well, and that wasn't that also the same episode that had the
Like the tombs.
tombs of all the Jedis that had been harvested or captured by the Inquisitors.
Yeah, and there were
So I
some
mean,
younglings. and shit
Kenobi. I
in
mean,
there.
let's be honest.
Yeah.
Being a Jedi is aspirational, right? It doesn't take away from who you are and how you feel. I mean, that Anakin did the best job of showing that, and he just couldn't balance it, right?
Yeah.
It's aspirational, though. Kenobi does get mad. Look at the last shot of the last part of the fight sequence between him and Darth Maul. He wasn't calm and centered. He was fucking angry, right? And he was a little bit angry in this sequence when he shattered the glass and brought all that water down on those stormtroopers. He was like, this is the only way out. And it took his anger to make that happen. And I do love that about the show is like my favorite moments with Luke. Luke has always fought like a Sith. Kenobi in this episode plays some dirty tricks because it's all he's got. which is also why the Jedi can sometimes be a little bit hypocritical. But, you know, the Sith aren't the good guys either. But that's for another episode. The point is, when that blue saber went off in the torture chamber, I did jump up and down on my couch. I was happy to see it.
It was an oh shit moment.
I mean, we knew it was coming.
Was.
We wanted it to happen. And then they stuck the landing, and it was fucking awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Y'all got more thoughts on this one, or should I jump into 5?
Nope. I just wrote down violence. That's all.
I have a shitload of notes for episode 5.
Ooh, Epi 5.
I had started drinking by the time I watched this episode yesterday.
We don't drink.
So let's get into it. Y'all stop me if we need to. Flashback to training. It's Ben and Anakin. This is a very
Okay, that
very
was
cool
amazing.
scene.
That's what we were all actually waiting for, was seeing Hayden Christensen
This
and
is
Ewan
why you
McGregor
bring-
hanging out again.
This is why you bring
wanted
Hayden
more of
back
that.
instead of just putting some tall ass dude
Yeah.
Yep.
in a suit, right?
Exactly.
So this is all intercut with Vader talking to Reva. She says that the tracker worked. Vader names her the Grand Inquisitor. Ben and the group arrive back to the rest of the group. Haja is there, and Ben is like, "What the fuck are you doing here?" And Haja's like, "I'm just trying to make some shit right." Roken is trying to get folks out of there and be a leader. Vader and Reva approach Jabim. Lola fucks up the wiring because of the tracking device that's planted in her on the locking hanger above the rest of the group, and they can't get out. Ben and Anakin flashback. There was a lot of Ben and Anakin flashbacks
There
sort of
was.
edited in throughout the show.
Anakin had the worst wig.
It's pretty bad, but it's still cool as shit to see them going at it in
Well,
the training.
and the way they weaved that in and out was, I mean, clearly, you know, what was going to happen with the whole relationship for the rest of the show.
Right.
I loved it.
That was my, like, that's
Loved
what I
it.
wanted to see more of. I wanted
Yeah.
to see more of the, I just wanted to see the two of them fucking eating a cheeseburger at that one diner from Attack of the Clones.
Yeah.
Just having a fucking, you know, milkshake.
Jedi business.
Yeah.
Go back to your drinks.
So then Vader launches the attack on Jabim.
You knew
There's
Anakin
the-
was smoking them death sticks.
Under his bed.
Bunch of troopers show up at the gate. Shitloads of them. Reva has them fire at the gate. Leia goes into the vents to check on the wiring of the hangar door. She thinks she can figure it out. Bail Organa sends communication to Ben via the hologram. Ben goes back to the gate to stall Reva because he's smart. They talk through the gate. Ben figures out that she was a youngling that was there the night of Order 66. And there's a flashback to Order 66. And she says that she plays dead to make Anakin think that he had killed her.
And that's why there was a warning on every one of these episodes.
Yeah.
But that's a whole other
'Cause
podcast.
Ben figures out that she wants Anakin dead. And then she's all like, "Where were you, motherfucker? Why didn't you help?" That's exactly what she said.
She
According to
did.
my notes.
She did say that.
She wasn't wrong. But also, she was wrong. I mean, he wasn't not helping.
I mean, he was doing his own shit, right? She
He had his own thing going
I
on.
mean, he did cut Anakin's legs off and leave him for dead.
She cuts through the gate.
He did something.
And
She don't know it.
He contributed.
They charge the group. The group retreats. Tala gets shot in the process in the tunnels. She locks the gate and tells Ben to run so she can detonate a bomb to drive Reva and them back. Boom. So she sacrifices herself to get the rest of the group out of there. There's another Ben and Anakin flashback. Anakin says, "Admit that you're defeated." Cut to Ben's face, and he says it's over. Ben tells the group that he's going to fight Vader, and Ben surrenders to the stormtroopers to give himself up. They bring him to Reva. Ben tells Reva that they could end this together, and then there's another Ben and Anakin flashback. Then we see Vader on Jabim. Reva tells him that she has secured Ben. Lola attacks Leia. She finds the restraining bolt on Lola, and then she fixes the wiring. The hangar opens so that they can escape. The group runs to the transport ship. Vader stops. They ass in midair. They ass.
Can we
Yeah.
pause just briefly for a second and talk about the restraining bolt on Lola and how within the world of Star Wars the droids are anthropomorphized. They are characters. They feel, they act, they behave, and then like this little restraining bolt just like supersedes all of their whatever. But like, we didn't even talk about the droid in the episode where Vader is choking kids out in the street and all that shit. The loader droid,
The like personality-less.
right?
Yeah.
Like Star Wars does a great job of creating these humanized characters inside their robots, and that the loader droid, who I think makes it deeper into the show, right?
He goes down when Tala goes down.
Right. So that's right. He's
Like
on that. He's
protecting
in
her
that
or
sequence.
something, right?
Yeah, he's trying to protect her.
But yeah, so the droids, I'm here for them. C-3PO can sit in the corner sometimes, though.
Corey hates droids. Corey Martin hates droids. But we'll get to that.
I don't know
later.
if in episode 1, we probably shouldn't talk about me and droids.
We'll get to that later. So then there's another Ben and Anakin flashback.
It's a sword tooth.
And Ben says, your need to prove yourself is your undoing.
So cool.
Reva tries to creep on Vader and kill him, and he catches her. Flip the page. I told you I took a lot of notes. Vader says, he was wise to use you against me. She keeps attacking Vader, and Vader is like, nah. She's nothing compared to him. He snaps her saber in half. They each get half and go at it against each other. So she's got half a saber. He's got half a saber.
He never even pulls out his own.
That's right.
Yeah.
Because he's fucking badass.
Yeah.
That to me was one of the best fight sequences, and we know the guy that was playing Vader in that suit during that sequence.
Mm-hmm. So now he's got both halves of the saber. She has a flashback to him slaughtering the younglings. Vader stabs the shit out of her. He tells her that he knew that it was...
That same old, tired lightsaber to the gut. I did you a favor maneuver, but yes, sorry.
Better than yogurt.
He told her that he knew what she was doing.
It's the Activia of the Empire.
I'm sorry I stabbed you with my lightsaber. You're going to have two...
Use your microphone, Corey Martin.
You're going to feel great.
Use your microphone.
That wasn't for public.
Okay, so she's of no further use. The old-ass Grand Inquisitor emerges from behind Vader.
He's so old.
And they leave her for dead. We see the group on the transport. Reva is still alive. She sees Kenobi's comlink in the dirt. So Reva finds his comlink. She opens it and sees Bail Organa's message about a child on Tatooine. And then cut to Luke in his bed on Tatooine.
And that's why you don't send little messages. Be like, hey, I'm going to just real quick just to check in with you and tell everybody all of our secrets.
All right. I had a problem with that.
They had this set up ahead of time. You're going to go get my daughter and I'm going to shut the fuck up.
That to me, I didn't mind the payoff in the last episode, but that beat right there, I was like, all right. We just needed that to get to this next thing.
Yeah, we needed to figure out how to get her there.
We need to find a way to we need to find a way to create a place to set Reva's character down. Right? That's the character, not the actress. She was killing it the whole time. Every frame she was in, I loved her in it. But when they had to pull the rug out from under Reva because the show was about Obi-Wan and Vader locking horns. It couldn't have been a 3-way fight. It had to be a 2-way fight. And her fight sequence with Vader was one of my favorite in the whole show. But then what do you do with the character? You MacGuffin the shit out of her to go be mad somewhere else? I didn't like that.
Yeah.
I didn't like that. I liked Obi-Wan trying to get her to see his way and her being so angry, justifiably, so angry about what happened that she wasn't going to play ball with the Jedi because she was clearly committed to eradicating the Jedi because she blamed them for what happened, which makes sense.
Sure.
But once they were done, once her subterfuge was played out and Vader called her on the bullshit, which was, the Empire is built on passive aggression, so he just let her fail upward. Once that was done, that was the end of her character, but that's not a satisfying narrative landing. And so they had to pull her forward into something else. And that was great for me.
And I think for me, that causes more questions because I'm still not
They're
clear.
Set up a Reva show is what it is.
Well, I'm still not clear. Did she figure out who the kids were?
She knew that. She figured out that Luke was Anakin's kid.
But how? From that like half-ass broken message?
Because he said, the boy on Tatooine. So then she was like, oh, that must be Darth Vader's secret children that even he doesn't know exist.
Like that. That was the reach. And you're the one that watched this last night, not me. So you tell us, is there enough information on the screen that actually says that gives Reva the realization that Luke Skywalker, this little teenager, this little kid on Tatooine, is Anakin Skywalker's son?
That's a good question because I did not write that down.
Because he was drunk on the bourbon.
No, because
they
don't
Force.
Really,
because they didn't actually say that.
Because it doesn't come up.
Because she was just looking for a power play because she was lashing out because she just got her ass handed to her. That's what it was.
She's like, oh, there's a boy on Tatooine. All right, that must be something.
Fuck him. I need a way out.
I'll go get a kid on Tatooine. I don't
This
care.
is where Kenobi was this whole time. I guess I'll go thwart him where he had been. Right? Like, to me, there could have been a cleaner way to do that. And I realized that you just don't, like, they could have just killed Reva, right? Vader could have literally just killed the shit out of her. He was clearly toying with her the way he toyed with Kenobi during their first encounter. He's having fun with it. It's what Palpatine called him on at the end of the episode of the season. Are you done fucking about, or are you ready to get to the work, to the business of the Empire?
You seem stressed, man.
Right? Like, are you done fucking around with this shit? Are you going to get to work, son? That's what Palpatine says to him at the end. And Vader's like, yeah, okay, I'll go to work. But, like, he's clearly messing around with Kenobi during that sequence in the second episode. And he's clearly messing around with Reva. And that's just Anakin's hubris. That's his arrogance. That's his, I'm going to not end this so that I can keep fucking with it, because if the more I can fuck with something else, the less I can look at myself and realize how fucked up I am. Mm-hmm. This is my therapy. Star Wars, a podcast brought to you by bourbon. But seriously, I wanted more for Reva because she was a great fucking character, and I didn't like that little MacGuffin with the broken message leading her back to Tatooine.
Yeah, it's a little weird. It's a little forced. It's a little...
Is it?
We have to figure out a way to get her there.
Is it a little forced?
A little forced.
I wish you could see the look on Jim's face right now.
It's a little forced.
It's a little... May the force
What are
be
your
with
thoughts,
you.
sir?
Do you remember in Empire Strikes Back when he's like, I'm your father, and then Luke's like, no, and then he's like, come up here and let's be friends, and he's like, no, I'd rather fall down this hole, and then he just drops down the hole. If Vader can stop a ship that's flying away from him, and he can be like, now come and land again, couldn't he have picked up Luke and been like, dude, get back up here? No, listen, we're friends.
Also,
I'm your
if
dad.
he could stop one ship, why couldn't he stop
the second
two
one?
ships? I mean, I know reasons. I get it. I'm all right with it. And I'm going to go ahead and say this. It looked better when Rey did it in Rise of Skywalker.
See, that's the thing, is that, like, Rey does it, so then they have to make Vader do it, and it doesn't matter. It's 30 years earlier that Vader's doing it.
It looked better when Rey did
fuck.
it. Because the first time we all saw that shit, we were like, is motherfucking Chewbacca dead? I know you thought it for like 2 seconds.
I did.
I saw you flipping seats in a movie theater with people in them.
You don't kill fucking
We'll
Chewbacca.
come back. We'll come back to it.
We can't start talking about that
But
movie.
we're just talking about using the
movie.
Sith power to force grab a ship. That's it. I'm just saying Rey did it better.
There's a whole other episode about
Rey
that.
did it better than Vader.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Yeah.
And Vader could have
But
totally grabbed that second ship.
Once that ship was on the ground and he was just tearing pieces off of it, that was so cool. Oh my god. He was like ripping it off and like looking for people, but there weren't any people. And it was like that game you play when you're a kid. Here's the church, here's the people.
Where are the people?
Rip open the ship. There are no rebels.
That's how it went, I think.
The only other thing I wanted to talk about with this episode was in the beginning when Reva goes to see Darth Vader, and he's like, what did it happen? And she's like, yeah, it's cool. And he's like, you know what? You're the Grand Inquisitor. And then a guy steps from behind her and puts a Grand Inquisitor badge on her. Mm-hmm. So, did Vader tell that guy earlier that day. He was like, listen, if this works out, I'm going to make her Grand Inquisitor, so make sure that you have that badge with you. Or was it like, hey, Grand Inquisitor got killed, so keep that badge on you and just be close. Because I'm going to find a new one, and when I do, boom, they're going to need the badge.
I need you here, son.
Yeah. Like, is that just
Like,
that's
that guy's one job?
Is he's just like, fuck.
He's just walking around agonizing for 2 weeks.
Meanwhile, he
with
has
the
a
badge
real
for the
job.
Grand Inquisitor that's not getting done.
He has an office down the hall, but
Yeah,
he
yeah,
can't go
yeah.
in there. He's got to walk around with his
There's like
badge the whole time.
requisitions that aren't happening.
And he's like,
Contracts that aren't
Reva,
being
finally,
reviewed.
fuck. And he like slams the thing and he goes back. He's like, I have 52 voicemails. Like, he's so mad.
I think you're onto something.
That was my last note about that episode.
All right, let's get into episode 6. Excuse me.
Is this the finale?
This is the finale.
Motherfucker, this is good.
Reva is on Tatooine looking for Owen. Vader is chasing the transport ship with Ben and them. Ben and them is the group, you see.
Yeah.
As opposed to Greg and them.
Yes. Luke and Owen are...
They're on a different planet.
They're shopping for like a speeder belt. And the dude tells Owen that Reva is looking for him. Leia gets mad that Ben wants to use himself as a distraction, and Ben gives Tala's belt to Leia, although it has no blaster in it because she's 10.
That was cute.
Yeah. Ben tries to talk to Qui-Gon again, and he tells Qui-Gon that this ends today. Ben takes the dropship as a decoy, and Vader takes the bait. They go after Ben's ship instead of the rest of the group, so the rest of the group can get free. Owen, Beru, and Luke are hiding. Jim's mad. You shaking your head.
No, we'll get there.
Ben lands the ship. Vader follows in a solo ship, and then Ben finds Lola. Kenobi pose. Saber battle. Exclamation points. I love the Kenobi pose. It's so fucking great. Reva is in Owen and Beru's crib. There's more saber battle. Exclamation point. Vader's a bad motherfucker.
I like that Owen and Beru are from Sand Mountain, right? Like they threw down like
And when
with
you say-
some 10 gauge scatter guns and just like some
We will
chicken
protect
manure
this house.
grenades.
Yeah, they did.
They're like, come on, come get it. I loved it. It was awesome. They were scrappy. Vader buries that ass and he says, "You have failed, Master." He calls Ben Master.
He does. He does.
Right.
Super cool.
So then Reva and Owen are fighting. Luke runs out into the desert. Ben gets out of the rocks, and then he and Vader get to fighting again. Ben throws a shitload of rocks at Vader. He's got rocks held up everywhere around him. It's so fucking great.
So many rocks, man.
It's so great.
God.
Reva chases Luke through the desert, and then Ben's whooping that ass. And then he cuts Vader's mask in half, and we see like half of Vader's fucking face. And Vader says, "Anakin is gone. I am what remains." Ben says that he's sorry. And then I'm a fucking mess over here trying to watch the show. Then Vader says, "You didn't kill Anakin Skywalker. I did. The same way I will destroy you." And Ben says, "Then my friend is truly dead," and turns and walks away. And we hear like that half mix of fucking Anakin's voice and fucking Vader's voice. And it's cool as shit.
That's why you bring Hayden Christensen back, was
Right.
that scene.
Yeah.
Reva draws her saber on Luke. She can't follow through and finish the business with Luke and kill him. She's having these flashbacks to fucking Anakin trying to kill her and all the younglings, and she just can't do it. Ben lands on Tatooine. Reva shows up carrying Luke, and she showed him mercy. She couldn't do it. Vader talks to the hologram Palpatine. He tells Palpatine that Ben means nothing anymore. Ben visits the Organas. He tells Leia that she has qualities from both of her parents and that they were exceptional people. Ben visits Owen and Luke on Tatooine and gives Luke the toy ship that we see Luke playing with in episode 4. And then we see Ben talking to Qui-Gon in the desert, finally, on his way out, and the fucking credits roll.
Qui-Gon was like, "The hell took you so long? I've been sitting here this whole time."
That's essentially what he said.
Yeah. Nearly verbatim.
Finally.
I think if we saw the script, that's what it would say.
Yeah.
So, let's get into our thoughts on 6 and then kind of do an overall thoughts wrap up on the
All right,
show.
you first.
I'm like you. It took, slow burn, episode 1. You don't expect him to come out right out of the gate. We know that Kenobi's been chilling. You don't expect a ton. I was a little disappointed. They took us to episode 2 to get to see some Vader, but I was fine with it. Overall, I love the show. I mean, I'm in the camp of any Star Wars is a good Star Wars, and I'll take it. I remember when we were young childrens, and we only had basically 3 Star Wars in our lives. There was episodes 4, 5, and 6.
And there was
and
never
a couple of
gonna
those
be,
weird Ewok movies, which
There was
I actually
never
like,
going
but
to
they're
be
weird.
more.
No, I didn't even count that shit. So like we,
watched
and now we're getting Star Wars all the time, and they're not all going to be fantastic. But I thought this was a good show. I don't think I had as many complaints about it as you guys did. I've only watched it for the second time. I basically just watched it yesterday and today for the second time.
And my complaints were more about format than content.
Sure.
I just think it would have made a better movie than 6 episodes. It just felt needlessly long, and it was a movie broken into 6 chapters, not 6 episodes. Right? That's a different medium, and they had to work past that each week, and I didn't like that.
Yeah.
Because in my mind, Anakin and Obi-Wan, and surprisingly Leia, because I didn't know that she was going to be in the show, they deserved the best. Like there's a better version of the story that exists in someone's script that didn't get greenlit, because this show started somewhere else and then became a series. It started out as a movie, and you can see those huge like story points playing out. Like even the Reva character works in a movie. You need Reva, the victim of the violence between Anakin and the Jedi Order. You need her to propel this story forward, because she is a victim. And she is a victimizer now, but you see where she came from, and she's a strong fucking character. And I think the format, for me, and that's just my bias and preference, the format kind of took away from that steam. I think there's just a stronger hitting version of it out there, but I'm sure some clever person on the internet's got a 2-hour edit of the Obi-Wan Kenobi series that I can go watch.
Oh, they absolutely do.
Oh, you watched it, didn't you?
It's called the Patterson edit.
Cool.
I only watched the first 20 minutes because I did it wrong.
Okay.
Enough said. But what I saw was amazing. I mean, in 20 minutes, you're mostly through the first episode. Like, because they cut out a lot of Leia running through the woods.
Badly.
Like, pretty much all of that is cut out.
I mean, Leia ran just fine, but it was all the other choreography that was not good.
That particular thing, it's like you just see her like running through, and you see Flea. I'm sure that's not his character's name.
It's
but
Flea.
Flea is there, and then
it is not.
And she's like, "What are you here for?" And he's like, "For you, princess." And then you see the other 3 people, and it cuts.
That's all you need.
You don't need 5 minutes of her
because
running
Flea
around
and 3
from
other
them.
gangsters are going to take the kid.
It's like
you don't
way
need
more
to see,
foreboding to cut on
yeah.
4 grown-ups surrounding this kid. So
I thought episodes 5 and 6 were like very, very, very good
yes,
storytelling episodes. You get the flashbacks of them training, and you get the fucking, Anakin thinks he's the badass and he's gonna one up his master.
But that was always Anakin.
Yeah.
I mean, to the fucking end, that was always Anakin.
Yeah.
but it's so nice to like see more of. I didn't like all of that stuff going into it is like bonus to me. I didn't think we'd get any of that. I thought we were getting a cameo. I was like, I bet episode 6, Vader shows up. Like, I don't know. I thought it would be something
Now, I have
stupid.
really high expectations for Ahsoka.
Yeah.
And he's in that too. And I have no idea how, because I'm assuming that Ahsoka is based on post-Mandalorian timeline Ahsoka.
Going after
Which
Thrawn
means,
or whatever.
right, which means Vader's long since dead, because Mandalorian is after Jedi.
Right.
How is Hayden Christensen going to be in the Ahsoka Tano TV show?
Unless he's her little Force ghost buddy. Follows her around.
That'd be pretty cool. I'm just really happy that Hayden Christensen is going to be in that show. I'm very excited about it.
I'm for it.
When is that? Next year?
Next year.
They're filming.
They're shooting now.
Yeah. So overall thoughts, besides the fact that maybe it should have been a movie.
My overall thought, my feeling was, I love Star Wars, and I was just so happy to see Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen back, in the cloaks with the lightsabers, doing what they do best, and in some instances doing it better than they've done it before. And it was just wonderful to see new stories being told with these characters. And young Leia was a surprise to see her because they clearly didn't market that, but I was not surprised at all by her behavior in the show, because Leia is very, very just personified.
I love that you got the sassiness.
She was fantastic, but also the curiosity, right? Like, I mean, her emotional intelligence. I mean, if she's got a baseline force power, it's emotional intelligence. Yes, she's a statistician. She's a commanding general, but
she's polite to droids.
Armies are made.
She's polite to droids,
right? Armies are made of
to.
people and droids in this universe, and she knows how to talk and listen to all of them. And it was cool to see 10-year-old Leia running around doing that without some, Jedi master teaching her how to do it. She just knew how to do it.
I love it at the very end too, because there was that whole thing in the beginning where she's like, all I do is wave to people and I don't understand and blah blah blah. And then in the end, she's dressing herself. She puts on Tala's holster.
She saw the power in it.
Yeah. She marches out beside her mom, and then Bail Organa is standing there, and Bail's like, Bail's highly in her corner, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She's like, if I'm going to do this, I'm changing the game.
Yeah.
I mean, she says it, right?
Well, it's because she saw where the power was.
Right. And then he was like, yeah, I'm for that.
And the power that she saw.
He says, I think he said, I bet.
I think he did say, I bet.
I bet. I thought it was cool.
I love that little glimmer in her eye,
Mm-hmm.
That's great casting, great writing, and great directing, because that was pure Leia, and she nailed it. She nailed it.
I would say the opposite of that to the costumers who thought that Leia needed to have braids and a white outfit at all times, or we would forget she was Leia, and Luke had to be dressed exactly like Luke from
Episode 4.
Every time you see him, he's got to be wearing the same yellow outfit.
He only had that one outfit.
He's just a poor dirt farmer.
He does farm dirt for a living. So we didn't need
Technically,
moisture.
though, he was a moisture farmer.
Moisture, I know, but where does it come from? Though?
Yeah.
It comes from the dirt.
The atmosphere.
But other than that, I am disappointed in everything, and I went into this expecting to be disappointed, and I loved every bit of it, and I'm very happy that they made it. Thank you, everyone.
We are a Star Wars.
We are a Star
Wars. I do want to wrap up and get some final thoughts on what do you guys think about what do we expect out of Andor? It's a longer series. We only had 6 episodes of Kenobi.
Oh wait! Before we go on to Andor, I know there haven't been any announcements, but boy, they sure did set up the end of the season to lead into more stories. And we don't need to see, like, they left Reva wide open, they left Leia wide open. I mean, we know where they all end up. And the beauty of what they're doing with Star Wars right now is they're mining these shit out of the stories in between the big marquee moments. But there's really great stories coming out of that. And so when I got to the end of the last episode of Kenobi, I was like, I wouldn't mind seeing more of.
I mean,
because partly like Kenobi was somewhat free of the burden of like being tethered to Luke's doorstep, right? I mean, that's what Owen was telling him the whole time, like, back off, I got this. You being here is more of a problem than you realize, and Owen was right. And so, like, we got 7 more years where Kenobi can go fuck some shit up, and I do think, at least within Andor, there's a whole quiet network of a rebellion forming. There's no reason why there's a story that we haven't seen before that, if it's well written and McGregor wants to come back for it, I would watch the shit out of it.
It is a little odd that Ben packs up his cave and leaves.
But he moved like down the street
and the next
to
thing
another
we
cave.
know of
He
him,
was like, I'm getting me a hut.
The next thing we know of him is that he's on Tatooine, and he rescues Luke from the fucking Tuscans,
Yeah.
right?
He's like, come back to my hut.
So something happens between then and Episode 4,
I think
and then he
Kenobi
ends up
and
back
Reva
on.
end up working within the rebellion somehow.
They said they weren't going to do a season 2, but they left it wide ass open.
Look, they're making streaming shows because they got to keep people tethered to monthly subscriptions. Kenobi performed well. It was a great series. They would be dumb not to throw a shitload of money at Ewan McGregor and bring everybody back for more stories. It doesn't have to be Luke and Leia. We don't need that.
No. I'd like to see more Reva. I love a good redemption arc, and I like what they did with that character.
I mean, if Reva wants to get back at Order 66, the cocksucker behind it is Palpatine. Okay, let's put her in Fulcrum. Let's put her in the middle of it. Let's have her, going really, really medieval on the Empire quietly. I mean, she knows where the pressure points are. I mean, there's stories there that could be told. We'll see if they tell them, but I would like to see more of Reva and Kenobi before A New Hope. Because, of course, where the hell is Reva? I mean, that's one of the funny things about, all of these TV shows is when you think about Force Awakens, you're like, and Mando?
Right.
And Thrawn? I mean, we're going to find out. They're going to tell us that's happening.
Yeah. And it's like, where was Ahsoka during the trilogy? Where was Mace Windu when they freaking bring him back? Because they just can't help themselves. They're going to make him come back.
Bring him back, though.
No, they don't.
They
He's
do.
dead. People can die sometimes.
Yeah,
Let
but-
someone die.
Nah.
Even if you like them,
But if
they
it's
can
Samuel
die.
Jackson, I want to see. I don't need a whole Samuel Jackson TV show, but
Well, he's coming.
Is it happening?
No.
Oh,
I didn't mean to. No, I don't have a
want
scoop.
I want a Samuel Jackson show. Yeah.
Thoughts, Corey, before we go into Andor?
I feel like there are people who are clamoring for let's make movies that aren't within the Skywalker saga. And I get it, but I think I'm going to be less interested in a movie that happens 3,000 years before and I'm not familiar with any of it. I'm all for Rogue One is maybe number 2. It's top. I love Rogue One.
That's a good
I
ass
love
movie.
all these little things that plug in and kind of answer some questions left over and all that kind of stuff. I think that's fun. I'm into that. I love Solo. I'm fine with staying within these 50 years or whatever.
I am excited to see Andor. Rogue One is one of my favorite movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, Andor is going to be interesting because what exactly is the story they're telling? They're leaving something out, clearly, of the trailers. They left shit out. They swerved us on Mando when we got Baby Yoda.
Yeah.
They swerved us on Kenobi. We got young Leia. We thought we were just going to see a bunch of young Luke. Luke was
Yep.
in 2 of the episodes.
Yeah.
Barely.
Yeah, they're going to do something. It's going to be
Yeah.
bait and
I mean,
switch.
the legacy of Rogue One is the consequence of the conflict, right? Because it didn't really embrace any of the central characters within the Skywalker saga, right?
Right.
I mean, you had, Grand Moff Tarkin, and really he was the only one that was there with any continuity. Vader had a couple of cameos, but it was really everybody else
Yeah.
that was involved on both sides of the equation. And it was a far less melodramatic story. It didn't have the Force. And it not having the Force, in my opinion, made it a better movie. And my favorite character in the movie was, the guards that guarded the Jedi Temple. And the cat was scratching the... Rando, you are taking advantage. But the guards that were guarding the Jedi Temple, they weren't Force sensitive, right? They were just like us in the audience. They just believed and gave a shit about it.
Yeah.
And so I'm hoping to see more of that in Andor. I'm hoping to see, all of the regular folks that got tired of the bullshit and found their own way to rise up against and, said no. and I'm looking forward to seeing what that looks like in a Star Wars universe, especially because K2SO, to get back to the droid thing, was one of my favorite characters in the movie, and he is not in the first season. So that means Diego Luna, who's a great actor, is going to carry that shit on his own for the whole, like, you know, it's going to be his origin story. But it's his origin story, I think, is going to be more about the origin of the rebellion as an organized effort.
We'll get some big shit that'll pop off. You know they're going to give us...
After all these chicken wings, I'm going to make a big shit.
they're going to give us something to excite us, right?
Yes.
Like they do a pretty good job.
Do
at,
you
like,
think that they'll
placating
actually
fans.
cast a Grand Moff Tarkin this time instead of the robot?
I mean, they probably have to.
I hope they do.
They probably have to.
Let's let the deep fake go, guys. It's okay to recast, guys.
Yeah.
Guys, it's okay to recast.
You can
Recast.
recast. It's fine.
I'm okay with it.
Don't take us off the ride. Recast.
Corey Martin, you got thoughts?
I am a Star Wars.
I too am a Star Wars.
It's a funny thing that you should
Jim.
say that because yo también es un Star Wars.
And we
Ah.
are
We
a
are a Star
Wars.
Star Wars. We are a Star Wars. We are a Star Wars.
Isn't that cool?